To explore the evolution of search, please welcome Paul Longo from Microsoft and Jeremy Hall from iProspect to the stage.
I thought he was going to show.
So before we bring Paul out, just a few thoughts to kind of set the stage for what we're about to do. As we've shared several times, this is iProspect's 20th anniversary. We started doing search marketing 20 years ago. We started doing search marketing before Bing existed. We started doing search marketing before Google existed. And as I was thinking about this, I was thinking about the changes just in the past 10 years that I've been in the industry. I remember writing those 190 character descriptions for Yahoo. Back when it was an open bid environment, there was no quality score. You'd find someone bidding on a keyword for 20 bucks. You'd set your bid to $19.99. You'd click on their ad a few times. I never did that, but I could have, right? And then I thought back a little bit further, and I realized something. If you transport, I like to think I know a little bit about search marketing, but if you transported me back in time 20 years, set me at a desk, and asked me to execute a search marketing campaign, I wouldn't know where to begin. I wouldn't have the foggiest idea how to start building a strategy and implementing it because the space has changed so fast. And as we learned today in our Insight Labs, the search space is continuing to evolve through new trends and specifically through new entry points outside of the search box. So in order to dig a little bit deeper and help us explore where search is going, very proud to have a representative from a company that is leading the way in the new search experience. Please join me in welcoming Paul Longo from Microsoft to the stage. Absolutely.
Right.
So thanks for joining us, Paul.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Let's have a seat. So before we get started, can you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Paul Longo. I lead the agency development team for Bing Ads at Microsoft. And my team and I help our largest agency partners get the most out of the Bing Ads platform. We work very closely with Jeremy and team, of course, and it's my second tour of duty at Microsoft, and I've been with the company for a total of 5 years.
Awesome. So let's dig into these new search experiences. So talking about how search has evolved. Search used to be about indexing websites, matching them up to keywords or queries, and then displaying relevant results as a list of links on a page. Now, when I open my browser, I enter a keyword or a query, I get a list of links on a page. So what's really changed?
Well, I mean, a lot has changed. I think the team in the Insights Lab, the SERP kind of history breakout did a fantastic job today, really outlining, how search has really evolved. And, I think one of the big evolutions is, it's really moved from an information-based vehicle to more of an intent-based vehicle. So when search first started, it was a singular destination that enabled all of us to sift through the vast amounts of information online, pull back relevant information in the source of links, and more links. And today, you still do get links, but you're getting way more than that. You're getting product feeds, you're getting images, you're getting videos, you're getting social integration, you're getting voice search results. So I think from an intent standpoint, all of that is helping us to gauge personal information, real-world, real-time information to help people be more productive. So really be more task-based versus informational-based. And from a SERP experience standpoint, this is very, very important to Microsoft, and it's something that we've spent a lot of time in developing. So we've created something called Moments in Time, which is really geared towards creating a really interactive and immersive experience within the search framework. So we actually launched this for the Oscars. We launched it for March Madness. So we brought forward Bing Predicts data to help people fill out their Oscar pools, to help people fill out their Final Four brackets. We have a moment in time experience built right now for the election. So if you type in election into Bing right now, you're going to get predictions on who's going to win the different states. You get to see where all the candidates stand on various issues. So really building out robust experiences around kind of high traffic, high volume, intent-based events. And I think the goal really there is to create more brand preference. So when people do come back and use Bing, they're more immersed and more engaged, not just in organic content, but also in paid content for our brand advertisers.
So Bing Predicts, that's absolutely fascinating to me. And It's something that, you know, it would be really cool if we could go back in time a few months and you could start working with an agency about how to apply Bing Predicts data to clients' data. And then a few months from now, when we're ready to reveal that, partner with that agency to solve some business problems. And that's all I'll say about that.
Funny that you mentioned that, Jeremy. We might be having some discussions.
We might have already been having several discussions. So you used a word in there when you were describing the new search experience in the SERP, and that was intent. And I think that's a critical word to understanding how search works. For a long time, the only clue we had about a consumer's intent was the keyword that they entered. But now we've got more. What are some of the other things that Microsoft looks at to really understand that intent?
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, in the past, all you had to go on was just that keyword. Now, really, context has been added in addition to the keyword. So, you know, what time of day is that search happening? Where is it happening? On what device is it happening? Is it a voice search? Is it a text search? So if I'm searching for best restaurants in Las Vegas and I make that search at 6:30 p.m. in New York, I'm going to get a very different result if I make the same search 6:30 p.m. in Las Vegas on a mobile phone. You know, one of those searches is very, you know, research informational based, and the other one is, you know, very intent. I want to book a restaurant reservation right now. And the results you're going to get based on that context are going to be two very different results. You're going to get a localized result experience, you know, with that mobile search in Las Vegas versus the desktop in New York.
So one other phrase outside of intent that keeps coming up is the fact that specifically with mobile search, it's not a destination, it's an ongoing activity, an ongoing conversation. You don't sit down and go, I am now going to do a search. Instead, it's something that happens in multiple moments that are interconnected. So how does Microsoft approach that philosophy?
Yeah, this is something that's really, really exciting to me as a search worker and someone that's been in the industry for many years, and also to Bing and Microsoft at large. I mean, we're really at a revolutionary point with search marketing, and search is moving beyond the singular destination and becoming more ubiquitous in nature. You know, I think one of the purest examples of this is when I see the search behavior of my 9-year-old daughter, some of my nephews and their friends. They never go to a search destination. You know, they're either swiping or using voice search, you know, across all the multitude of devices that are littered across our home. And you know, their expectation is that technology is going to make their life easier, and they're going to get that information at their fingertips. You know, to your point, like they don't have the time or the inclination to actually go to a destination. They want that information kind of when and where and through a device of their choice. So you know, from a Bing standpoint, you know, we are investing in Bing.com. We feel like we've built out a great experience. Like we talked about, we're going to continue to evolve the SERP, you know, with innovative things such as Moments in Time. But at the same time, you know, we see our future as, you know, not just go to Bing, but, you know, how are we going to bring Bing to you? And that's really where the growth and the opportunity is.
You know, and that's especially interesting because, again, thinking back 20 years to the old search experience, you really weren't searching in English. You kind of had to learn a new language to search with Boolean operators and all sorts of other modifiers because the search engines didn't understand that. Fast forward to today, and we've got conversational search, we've got natural language understanding. The search engines understand what you're saying when you're typing in or sharing your query. You know, the next thing that we're looking at, I've heard, you know, several times referred to as search outside of the search box, just like you were talking about with your children, you know, not going to that actual destination, but instead incorporating that into that. So, taking it a little further, what exactly does search outside that search box mean to Microsoft?
We see, you know, when we say search outside the box of Microsoft, we kind of look at it in two buckets. One is voice search, which is connected to personal assistant, certainly, the growth there. And then the other is something that we call browserless or OS level search.
Interesting. So you mentioned two things, but I kind of heard three there. It was a little confusing. So let's go back to that. Let's start with voice search and personal assistance. So aren't those two separate things?
They are. They are and they're not, right?
Okay.
So you know, when you look at personal assistants, and I think we've all made friends with Cortana and Alexa and Siri over the past several years, you know, they've really changed the way that we search. You know, how, when, where, and why we search, and the search volume that's going through there, you know, continues to grow. Those personal assistants are powered by search, and actually Bing powers Siri, Bing powers Cortana, and when you conduct a typical voice search, you know, such as, you know, what's the weather in Las Vegas this morning, you're going to get, a typical, a straightforward result back. You're getting information back. When that search is conducted repeatedly through a personal assistant, that's going to become a learned behavior. So if I put that same search into Cortana, what's the weather in Las Vegas, and I do it for a few times, the next morning I'll wake up in Las Vegas, and then Cortana will greet me with what the weather is in Las Vegas. So it's really transforming information that you get to information that is more learned. So personal assistants really are just a way to make voice search smarter.
That's fascinating. So voice search. I'm a fan of voice search. I've been trying to get some data about voice
Trying
search.
to wrangle it a little bit.
And
so
I'll
actually,
say,
Jeremy, I have...
Hold on. So I went to our partners at Bing, and I said, can you please give me the ability to segment out voice search in my reporting? And the answer so far is no. So then, wait. Then I went to our partners at Google, and they also said no. So while I've got you here and you're trapped on the stage and you can't get anywhere, all right, what can you tell me about trends in voice search?
So I feel your pain, and it is still relatively early from a voice search standpoint, and we're still, I think, as a company trying to figure out how to unpack it. But at a high level, I can share just some initial insights that we're seeing from a voice search standpoint. One is that the volume is really starting to become significant and continue to grow. So 1 out of every 4 searches on Bing is a voice search.
Whoa, let's put a capper on that. Can you say that again?
1 out of every 4 searches is a voice triggered search.
That's significantly higher than I would have expected.
And it's something that we're continuing to monitor, but it's growing very, very quickly.
Wow.
And we see that those voice searches are more local in nature. They're more mobile. The keyword combinations are longer and more natural language based. Certainly a lot more question words. A lot of what, why, when, how. We're seeing it skew a little bit younger. Certainly it's some of the data that was shared at the Insight Lab today. We would concur with that. We see it's a broad audience, but we see it a little younger than the typical Bing audience. And I think those are the main themes that we see. We actually see from a keyword length combination, we see between 2 and 4 keywords is kind of the sweet spot that we're seeing. But we're seeing much longer query strings go out, plus 8+ words. So we're starting to see more of that natural language creep its way in.
And we're going to get that in our reporting when?
I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay, that's good. I said I wouldn't ask that, and then I just threw him under the bus.
But it's interesting from a voice search standpoint too, which is, if we all remember, Ask Jeeves, and I think Ask Jeeves was kind of a little bit ahead of its time.
Yeah.
When it was about, hey, here's this personal butler, this concierge that you could ask questions to, and they're going to bring back answers. And I think what people saw over time is that, okay, well actually, I'm not going to type in a full question because I'm not getting the payoff in terms of the specificity of results. And we, over time, I think, changed our behavior to shorten, our queries. And now it's really kind of going back to the future a little bit.
Now, they may have had the philosophy right, but I'll go on record as saying they didn't quite have the paid search platform right. I ran paid search on Ask Jeeves. It was not a seamless experience. But that's neither here nor there. So kind of closing out this voice search topic, it's all very fascinating. I'm just floored with the number of voice searches there. So my next question has to be, what should we do? How do brands take advantage of voice search?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that brands could do today to take advantage of voice search. One is local targeting, certainly, and radius targeting. The other is device optimization, and on Bing, leveraging the bid modifiers for both mobile phone and tablet. That's very, very critical to capture voice searches. Really testing out broad match strategies, to make sure you're capturing those longer query strings, incorporating question terms into your keyword combinations, especially the really high intent question terms like, what and when, like where and when. I think, and then also too, I think, looking, I think, at Bing too for that younger demographic. So I think as you're doing some of those, the customer journey planning, voice search really is a way to reach some of those hard to reach, younger individuals.
Do we have any advertisers here that are interested in reaching the younger demographic? Anyone?
Nobody, right?
Yeah, okay. So voice search and digital assistants, I think those are concepts that while they're new and they're emerging, I think everyone has a pretty good handle or understanding or some personal experience with them. The second example you listed, I'll admit it kind of threw me for a loop. It was interesting. You called it, as far as search goes beyond the box, browserless or operating system search?
Yeah, so the way that we define kind of browser search is, search that's integrated either into a technology, an operating system, or a software that you could enact without having to actually go to a browser. So it's a search you conduct without having to go to a browser. It's kind of like at the operating system level. And this is something that we see accelerating both text and voice search. So a couple of examples on the Microsoft side. One is Cortana integrated into Windows 10. Jeremy, I know you do have Windows 10 now.
I do.
And for those of you that don't have Windows 10, there is a persistent Cortana search box in the bottom left-hand corner that you could access to search not just your laptop, but also to search the web. So you're able to conduct searches without having to open up a browser. It's something from a Bing standpoint that has really been a driver and accelerator of our query volume. We're now up over 30% share in terms of our query volume. A lot of that has been driven by Windows 10 and that kind of integrated experience. So I think that's one area. Another, and if you see in the demo out there, is Xbox. So Bing is integrated as a search vehicle in Xbox. So you're able to tell Xbox to surface up your favorite piece of content or game or movie. You're doing that without a browser.
And Xbox is so integrated with voice commands too. Like we were talking about our kids. My 6-year-old daughter expects every device to obey her orders because the Xbox does, right? Pause, play. It's not listening to me.
No, that's a perfect example. Then they don't listen to us. But,
no.
But another example too is just from I think just a software standpoint. So Bing Search is integrated into Office now. So if you're writing a paper in Word, you can now highlight a specific phrase or word, and you actually pull search experience into your Word document. So just another example where you don't have to go to a browser. Bing also powers Kindle, so that's just another Siri Spotlight. So these are all the ability just to swipe and search versus go to a specific location. And earlier this year in Vegas at CES, Microsoft announced a potential partnership with Samsung where Windows 10 and Cortana would be included throughout their devices. And I know there's been a lot of talk today in the Insight sessions about device proliferation, but imagine a world where Cortana is plugged into your Samsung refrigerator and washing machine, and you could call the repair person, which would have been helpful for me when my Samsung washing machine actually broke down last week. And to have Cortana either order milk or and just those connection points across all these devices are just other ways to search that are not focused on the browser.
So with these new entry points that are outside of the browser, like how do we think about, is this still search? Is it something new? How do we think about it in this new paradigm?
I think the new paradigm for search is it's moving away from the notion of search as a search engine, right? I think back in the early days of search it was an engine, right? It went out and it crawled the web and it brought back this, relevant results to one destination, to one spot. Now, it's more a search as an intelligence platform. And it's an intelligence platform that intersects with us through many devices, through many different times a day in many different ways. And I think when you think about search as an intelligence platform, that's when you can really start to plan it out as not just a bottom of the funnel engine, but more of this platform that intersects with us, with our lives in many different ways every day.
So one recurring theme that keeps coming up throughout both of these days that you just kind of teed up beautifully, thank you, is the fact that change is driven by two different agents working in conjunction or against each other. It's new emerging technologies or solutions, but it's also changing consumer behaviors. And it's not just one, and it's not just the other, and they don't necessarily proceed or follow each other. It's just a very confusing fashion. So with I'll admit I kind of liked it when search was in a search box and it was queries and I could build out really complicated keyword lists and campaigns like that. That's exciting to me. It may not be exciting to everyone, but that's exciting to me. But in this new paradigm where we've got voice search, we've got personal assistance, we've got operating system-based search, like how do brands fit into that?
Yeah, and I talked about some of the tactical ways that brands could take advantage of voice search or some of these new formats, and I think there's also a strategic imperative, and I love the session today just on customer journey planning and the customer experience and how search was woven into that, and to me that's just a perfect way to think about search in the future. It's not this bottom of the funnel vehicle, and I know over the years it's been hard to move search out of that kind of bottom of the funnel vehicle and move it more upstream into the planning process. And I think when you think about search not as an engine, but as an intelligent platform, it's an absolute mandate for it to be incorporated into the planning process and how it's intersecting with consumer journeys. So as a brand, I think I think that's the exact right approach, which was discussed today, which is how is search, in addition to other vehicles, touching people's lives and intersecting with them as they go through their decision journeys.
So this is a lot of information to take in. It's a lot to process. At this point, I find myself wishing that we had some sort of visual, some sort of way to illustrate it and see it. You didn't happen to bring anything, did you?
We might have a video queued up.
Oh. All right, can we throw to video?
Cortana, I want to dress like this. Can you help me find it? I like this one. Yes, please. Can I get it in a size 6? Cool. Cortana, please give them my payment and shipping info.
Relevance and personalization. I mean, come on.
So future forward, a little kitschy, and that's how you could tell that I'm at a new, more nimble Microsoft where I could go back and say, hey, I'm going to Las Vegas. Create me a Las Vegas Cortana video, please. No, it was coincidental that was Vegas theme, but.
All right. Well, I think we're ready to open it up to questions.
Sure.
So I'm very curious to hear what questions you have about the new search experience.
Any from the voice of God?
We have a question right here.
How does this play into semantic processing for current queries on search? Will there be an intersection at some point to tie it to how you identify what the user's intent might be with various options to voice search?
Yeah, and that's something it's happening now. I mean, and to Jeremy's ask, I think the ideal is that we'll be able to report out on that soon. But we are ingesting all those data points currently.
Who's next?
Any other questions from the crowd?
Yeah.
So that's a really good question. I'll repeat it to make sure that everyone can hear. So the question is, with voice search, tends to be a one-to-one, ask a question, get an answer. And that's something that's puzzled me for a while as to how brands play in that, because it's almost like there's only one spot you can compete in, and it's focused on the relevancy as perceived by that engine. So how do you see Microsoft approaching voice search question to an answer?
Yeah, I think the monetization element of that is still, I think it's still in flux. It's still being figured out. Right now when you conduct a voice search, you can either get a voice response back, or you have the opportunity to actually search the web and have a web search come back. So right now there's no modifier necessarily for a voice search. You can't necessarily bid up on a voice search. It's not specifically broken out. So today, the best thing to do really is to really bid up in mobile, as a lot of those voice searches are happening in mobile. So that's, I think, the easiest proxy to optimize towards a voice search today, but it's something that is very, very top of mind, and that we're definitely thinking through.
It's an excellent question. Cool. Any more questions?
We do have a question on the app, perhaps a $1 million yo question. It sounds like all of the ways brands can take advantage of voice search are ads. Is that coming our way?
It is. Again, I mean, I wish I had the answer to that, to that $1 million question, but it's something that, we're continually looking at, what's the best way that we could, help to monetize voice search, and do it in a way, I think, that sticks with the heritage of search. From a search standpoint, search is really the one true advertising vehicle that's an extension of all of us and our intent and our wants and what we're trying to achieve. And I think we're looking at ways to optimize voice search that are similar and that are very much a value add to the experience.
And I think the challenge that I always see with voice search is that it's this 25% is fantastic, but it's still an emerging trend. And think about how long it took the search economy as a whole to figure out quality score and how to really match the value of the bid, the content of the ad, and the relevancy of your answer in a way that provided good experience for advertisers and good experience for users. And to me, I think the challenge that you've got to figure out is, how do we let advertisers play in this space where users are still discovering the utility and they are looking for information, and we want to make sure that as advertisers are positioned there, it's a positive experience. Otherwise, that's bad for the advertiser, and it's bad for the search engine.
I couldn't agree more.
Very good. All right, any last questions?
We do have one long one here.
Okay.
Microsoft's Xbox One and Kinect already leverage voice commands to control multiple home entertainment devices. How will the partnership with Samsung, evolution of Cortana, and app accessibility impact the search landscape in the coming years?
I think, I think it's this whole nature of, an ecosystem of connected devices and being able to leverage the data that goes across all these connected devices. So if Cortana knows that you're out of milk because of, it's plugged into your Samsung refrigerator, as you're driving by, your local supermarket, perhaps it could take that data point and prompt you to say, hey, why don't you stop in and purchase milk? And maybe there's brand opportunities to sponsor a shopping list, or to make sure that there's preferential treatment on a shopping list that's printed out. So I think there's ways, with this connected ecosystem that, again, to your point, Jeremy, it has to be done in a way that adds value. But I think when you stitch all those pieces together, I think there's going to be a whole that's going to be greater than the sum of the parts.
And as a husband and father, having those reminders when you're near the store to pick up milk on the freaking way home, so you don't get home and have to go out and do it because you forgot, is something I really look forward to.
You and me both.
Awesome. All right. Can we give Paul a round of applause?
Thank you.
Paul,
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.